Hey there, Sooner football fans. This is the OU Insider YouTube channel. That is Jesse Crittenden. I am Parker Thune. Another Tuesday means another Brent Venables press conference, and Venables had a lot of interesting things to say as the Sooners officially turn the page from the first half of the season to the second half. The home stretch has come into view here, Jesse, and the Sooners' first opponent of their second half is a familiar one for Dylan Gabriel.
No, yeah, exactly. I think this is going to be pretty interesting, not only just because of obviously Dylan Gabriel, his seasons with UCF, but it's also coming at a time where the Heisman buzz for Dylan Gabriel is real, it's palpable. Not only just with how well he's played, but with what's happening around the college football landscape. So, Parker, I think in a weird way, I mean, I know this game against UCF on Saturday is a game that OU is heavily favored. But I think this is another opportunity for Dylan Gabriel to continue to assert himself in that conversation. A game against his former team, the first game for OU after the Texas win, they're sixth in the AP poll. A lot of storylines. This should be a pretty interesting one.
Now, Dylan Gabriel naturally was asked about the unique situation that this presents for him as an ex-UCF Knight when he met with the media on Monday night. And here's what he had to say about the next matchup on the slate for the Sooners and the intricacies of his situation with his former program on the opposing sideline.
Interesting, how college football, brings it all full circle. But I'm excited for it. I'm excited for every opportunity and grateful that, I get to run out with these guys. And it'll be
Heisman buzz is really starting to heat up for Dylan Gabriel. And over the bye week, that was as much due to attrition as anything else. Caleb Williams had a very rocky performance against Notre Dame. You knew either Bo Nix or Michael Penix, their Heisman odds were going to take a shot because they were playing each other. Penix and Washington come out victorious over Nix and the Ducks, so that knocks a little bit of luster off of Nix's Heisman shine, as it were. And as things stand in Las Vegas, Gabriel's got the second best Heisman odds in the nation behind only Michael Penix. So what do you feel Gabriel needs to do this weekend and moving forward in order to cement his status as somebody with a legit chance at hearing their name called in New York City in December?
Yeah, I think that's the thing with going through the second half of the schedule is OU, assuming health and assuming they don't have a bad slip up, they're going to be heavily favored in every game from here through the end of the regular season. So there wasn't really an opportunity. There wasn't going to be another opportunity for him to have a Heisman moment or a Heisman moment than the one he had against Texas. And he checked that box. He beat, with a game-winning touchdown, he beat a really, really good team on a neutral site. So he kind of checked that box. So I think now moving forward, if you're thinking about what Dylan Gabriel needs to do, I think it's just continue to play well. Continue to play mistake-free football. I mean, Parker, he's top 10 in the country in nearly every statistical category. I mean, passing touchdowns, passing yards per game, completion percentage, passing efficiency. He really doesn't need to do anything differently. I think it's just continue to play like he has, because he already has kind of that quote unquote Heisman moment, check marked. So continue to play well. OU needs to keep winning games. And if they can do those things, which they're favored to do so, Dylan Gabriel, at bare minimum, I think will get an invite to New York City come December.
Now, this UCF defense has its vulnerabilities, to say the very least. They have not been strong thus far this season. But I don't know that you would necessarily call the Sooners offense one-dimensional right now, because they have been able to run the ball with some degree of effectiveness, but it definitely isn't what it could be if you had a healthy Javonte Barnes in the mix, and if you were seeing more of Gavin Sawchuk. Those two's usage thus far has been baffling to a lot of Sooner fans, understandably so. And Brent, typically very transparent about things, has been notoriously evasive the last few weeks about Javonte Barnes' status. Here was his latest update on Barnes earlier this afternoon.
Yeah, Javonte Barnes what's his status right now? Is he going to be healthy enough to contribute, be in the mix back after the season?
Possibly. Yeah, we're hopeful. So we'll keep trying to bring him along like the other guys.
Not a whole lot there, Jesse.
And I think there's reason for that. I think it's because, I mean, there's a difference with, like, Brent Venables was asked about, that cornerback room and Vickers and Josiah Wagner and Kenai Walker. He immediately said, yes, they're going to be available this weekend.
Mhm.
But when asked about Javonte Barnes, it's the same answer he gave a couple of weeks ago. They're hopeful, which tells me that there's not a whole lot of confidence right now with Javonte Barnes coming back. So to me, Parker, I think fans looking forward, I think the best mindset to have is it would be great if Javonte Barnes comes back. That would immediately give a shot in the arm to the OU running game. But all we've got to go off of is the first 6 weeks, which is two things. One, Dylan Gabriel's running ability is real and I think needs to be a regular part of the offense moving forward, and trying to find that balance between using it but not putting him in tough spots. And number two, Parker, that Tawi Walker has been the best running back on this team through 6 weeks. So that's what we've seen. And I think that's kind of got to be the mindset moving forward, with, the hope that Javonte Barnes and Gavin Sawchuk can make an impact, but not counting on that too much.
And I think you can expect another heavy dose of Tawi Walker when the Sooners host UCF on Saturday. But the sum and substance of it, Jesse, is that the Sooners offense is going to go as Dylan Gabriel goes. And the success, the efficiency, the output from this Oklahoma offense this weekend is going to be largely contingent on how well he is performing. And he has been nothing if not stable and consistent through 6 games. So no doubt Sooner fans want to see that continue. Now, on the defensive side for Oklahoma, one thing that Gus Malzahn and UCF have become notorious for, one of the characteristics of their offense, is plenty of trickery and deception and misdirection. Both Brent Venables and Ethan Downs weighed in on what matchup challenges UCF provides when they reach into the bag of tricks.
I think a good coach's deception is part of the game, and that's really in any sport. And it was maybe Sun Tzu talked about, in the art of war, talking about, again, deception, as something that is utilized on the battlefield. For football or sport, I think it's always a good thing, both sides of the ball. I think that's a good part of strategy. And, so, yeah, Gus is, and then UCF, our next couple of weeks, both teams, I think they're top 2 or 3 in the country in deceptive plays, as far as a percentage of their total number of plays. So, if they run the screen, they're going to run the screen and go. If they run the sprint, they got the sprint throwback. If they, run the stretch, they're going to run the flea flicker. They double pass. They throw back to the quarterback. We had the fumble Rooski. You get the jet, you're going to get the jet pass, all of those things to slow your aggression down and to manipulate you.
No, it's a great challenge every week. A lot of teams do similar things. Just seeing a team that does more tricks, they have one of the best offenses in the nation. We really respect them. No matter the record, we respect them. We know that they can beat us if we don't show up. So, we're excited for it. It'll be a great challenge and see how we can fit up.
Now, Jesse, looking back to this Oklahoma team in 2022, and it feels like we do a lot of reflecting on the 2022 team. Now, to some extent, that's natural because there are such stark differences. But the 2022 Oklahoma defense and their relative lack of discipline, looking ahead to a matchup like this, you would have had concerns about UCF's ability to break a few big chunk plays by virtue of trickery and misdirection. Not really the case with the Sooners defense here in 2023.
No, it's not. And I think we've seen this OU defense. We've seen teams try, run some trick plays against this defense. And I think largely the defense has been pretty successful against those type of things. And I think that goes back to That goes back to just this defense just has more discipline this year. I think they have more, better gap integrity. I think they're more sound in the secondary. They're more sound up front. But I do think we are going to see more of that this weekend. I mean, Gus Malzahn, you can trace his affliction, his affection for trick plays back to his days at Auburn, and UCF is going to be a nearly 3 touchdown underdog this game, this weekend, Parker. I think we're going to see him dive into that bag of tricks, because I think he's going to have to, if they want to try to score effectively and efficiently against this OU defense.
Yeah, you're going to have to keep the Sooner defense on their heels, and you're going to have to find creative ways to accomplish that. Now, another somewhat understated strength for UCF offensively is, well, they get their quarterback back. John Rice Plumlee is healthy, will start this week for UCF. But they've also got an outstanding offensive line, one of 23 mid-season, I don't know if finalists is the right word, but one of 23 FBS programs on the short list for the Joe Moore Award at the mid-season mark. Here was Brent Venables' comments from earlier today on UCF's ability to run the football behind that strong offensive line.
What are they ranked here? A number 3 rushing offense in college football. So that's the number one thing. And I know you know the answer to that question already, but they've been fantastic. They've protected the quarterback. They're running their system very well. They, whether it's double teams or the zone game, the gap schemes, it's the Wildcat, it's protecting the quarterback. They're doing a great job. They've got great cohesion. Their experience shows with the consistency that they're playing at. And if I gave them a compliment, that probably the best one, and that's what coaches want to see, is the consistency. They're not turning guys loose. They know how to target you. They know how to handle the different looks and things of that nature. So they're playing in a very cohesive way.
Now, Jesse, we were handed a sheet of statistics and factoids earlier today that highlight and underscore the difference in the level of defense that the Sooners are playing in 2023 and the level at which they played in 2022. One of the statistics that jumped out to me is that the Sooners are only averaging 3.3 yards per carry given up. That is a defensive statistic. They're allowing 3.3 yards per carry to opponents thus far in 2023. That's pretty dang good.
Yeah, no kidding, especially given how straight up bad this defense was last year at defending the run. I mean, the defense was bad in almost every way, but if you wanted to pinpoint the area they were probably the worst last season, it was defending the run. That just has not been the case this year. This rushing defense has been really good. And I think look no further than the win against Texas, Parker, against a really good rushing offense in Texas. OU gave up just 156 rushing yards on 40 carries. I mean, I think they largely stymied that Longhorns rushing offense. And OU's rushing defense this season is 28th in the country, only 113 yards given up per game. I do think they will be challenged a little bit this weekend. Parker, I mean, UCF's rushing offense is 3rd in the country, which is really impressive. They're averaging almost 250 yards or 250 yards a game. And I think getting Plumlee back is going to be a big boost in the rushing game too. I mean, he's averaging almost 9 yards a carry. So I will be kind of like that Texas game. It was a test that OU largely passed, but I was looking for, can that rushing defense hold up? That's probably going to be the number one thing I'm looking at going into this weekend on the OU defensive side, is how successful can they be at stopping a really good UCF rushing attack?
One more conversation worth exploring here, and we talked about it a little bit on last week's installment of Quick Slants, but with Andrell Anthony out for the year, you're going to see somebody step up by necessity at wide receiver. Jesse, this weekend, who do you think that is for Oklahoma?
I think it's pretty clearly Nick Anderson, Parker. I know we talked about this a little bit last week, but I actually went through the numbers during the bye week. I mean, even if you look at the snap count data, not only just this year, but going back to last year, Jeff Lebby wants a top 3 at wide receiver that see the bulk of the snaps. I mean, through 6 weeks, Andrell Anthony, Jalil Farouk, and Drake Stoops saw significantly more snaps than anybody else. I mean, Nick Anderson is 4th in snaps and has just a little over half the snaps played as Andrell Anthony, which tells me that Jeff Lebby wants a top 3. And so who's going to get that? I think it's who's going to step into that role. It's going to be Nick Anderson, who's 4th on the team in snaps and plays largely a similar kind of role when he's on the field that Angelo Anthony did. So I think you're going to see maybe a slight uptick in snaps for some other guys. Maybe Jaden Gibson gets a little bit more in the mix. Maybe they throw Brennan Thompson, if he's healthy, or Gavin Freeman out a little bit more. But the OU is losing a perimeter wide receiver in Angelo Anthony. Nick Anderson is 4th on the snaps. He brings size and length. I think it's pretty clear it's going to be Nick Anderson.
And I agree with you. And I'll take any excuse I can get to push the Nick Anderson agenda. Another guy, though, that you mentioned that I do think is poised to see his role expand is Brennan Thompson. And that could happen as soon as this week, too, because look, if you're looking for a guy to get behind a secondary, Brennan Thompson is that guy on your roster. And if Jeff Lebby and Dylan Gabriel feel a little added motivation to go bombs away on UCF, there is no more capable downfield target in terms of just sheer speed and ability to get behind the defense than Thompson. So definitely one guy that certainly stands to benefit from the loss of Anthony moving forward. That's it for Quick Slants this week. Oklahoma set to kick off with UCF, 11 a.m., a rooster kick at Owen Field on Saturday. Until then, stay tuned all week. The Oklahoma Drill podcast is coming your way. The Under the Visor pregame podcast, OU Insider Live tomorrow. That's Wednesday for those of you that aren't watching this video right when it drops. So stay tuned. Head over to OUinsider.com for all your behind-the-scenes juice on the Sooners team and recruiting information as well. Should be a big couple weeks on the recruiting trail. And OU Insider is the place to be if you want all the insight from the experts on all things OU football and recruiting. So that's it for this video. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and we'll see you next time. For Jesse Crittenden, I'm Parker Thune. Y'all take it easy.